We are past the halfway point in the season, and the Dynasty offseason is quickly approaching. Last week, we ended up in a conversation about our top 5 Dynasty RBs. And the crux of the conversation was that there has been a lot of movement since the beginning of this season. So we wanted to come back this week and take a look at the wide receivers and just see where we rank the top dogs. Well, that is what we are going to do tonight on the Rod Pod. Well, none of that went well.
There we go.
Oh, my dear Lord. This is what happens when you have 4 people on. Kind of pushes everybody
Brady
else
Bunch
off.
transition.
Right.
Lights. Who's Alice? Anyway, it's time to pull up a chair and talk some Dynasty football. I am your host, J.J. Wenner. This is the Rider Dynasty Podcast. With me is my co-host, Joe Harlow. Jameson is wrestling somewhere. And as usual, when one of us flies the coop, we call out to the bench for some help. Well, 2 of my favorite humans are on the show with us tonight. Welcome to our regular guest, Joel Worth.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Good to see you as always. And of course, a first-time guest. I had some great conversations, some cold beers, late hours with my friend, Mr. Rich Sickles. How the hell are you, my friend?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Well, we are happy to have you on the show, and we actually don't really like to do a lot of conversation. We like jumping right into what we're here to talk about. So what I did is I took our top 12 rankings that you all sent to me. I made a consensus board, and we're just going to go right through it, okay? We're going to start at the top, see where we agree, see where we disagree, and right off the bat, we had a tiny bit of a tie. So our top 2 receivers are, sorry about that, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. 2 of us took Jefferson, 2 of us took Chase. So who's number 1? Let's go to a guest first. Rich, talk to me.
Right. Well, I might be a little bit biased being the Vikings fan here.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I do try to keep my bias out of it as much as possible, of course. The way that I look at it is I love consistency. I want whoever's going to be the most consistent. And I love Jamar Chase too. He's got, like, you look at what Jamar Chase does, and he's got 2 games this year over 40 points, which is just insane. The monster games that he puts up, when he puts up monster games, he really does put up the points. But when you look at what Justin Jefferson's done this year, he's had every game has been 15 points or more, except for 1. And that one was dud this last week, when he scored like only 9 points. So averaging 18.6 points per game versus the 22.5 that Jamar Chase is averaging. You'd think that Jamar Chase would probably have the upper hand, but I like having the more consistent 20-point games, 15-point games that you get with Justin Jefferson over what you get with Jamar Chase, because you do get a little bit of up and down with him.
All right. So, Joel, you had Jamar Chase ahead of Justin. Care to share why?
If you asked me yesterday, I probably would have said Chase. If you asked me today, I might say Jefferson. Honestly, I don't think there's a huge difference between the 2. I don't think there's not a wrong answer with either one. Chase is a year younger, so sure, why not? I think these are the clear top 2, and there's really not a whole lot of difference between the 2 of them.
Yeah, Joe, are you on the same page?
Yeah, for the most part. Really, the differentiator here is just the quarterback. I like J.J. McCarthy a lot as a prospect, but we don't know what he is. And despite hesitations I have on Joe Burrow, he's still at worst, absolute worst, a top 10 quarterback for the next decade. So that's really what it comes down to. And I think both will age very well as well.
Yeah, and I agree with what everybody said, but with Joel, I vacillate back and forth between the two. I mean, if you could have either of them, get them.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be pretty happy. Now, I want to get to the rest of our top 12. Before we do, a word from our corporate overlords. Keep grinding this season with IDP Plus. Visit idpplus.com. For a limited time, get 20% off any subscription with the promo code PROPS. Get access to our tools, data, IDP articles, and don't miss out on our subscriber Discord. In fact, you can listen to Joel and our other host, Jameson, every Sunday at 10 a.m. talking about CFS. Or you can read our IDP Start Fit article by Joe Harlow every week, which is fantastic stuff. I don't really do anything except these pods, so don't go there looking for me. But go to idpplus.com anyway and start the march to Dynasty Glory today. All right, gentlemen. Number 3 on our list, and definitely this is Dynasty, not redraft, CD Lamb, catches and passes, Super Rush. Maybe, hopefully, dear God, please let him catch up with that. But how confident are we if Gary doesn't drop the line today? That was a sunshine in his eyes. On that one? Oh, that was a good joke. Jesus Christ, tough audience.
There we go.
Yeah,
Your audio was a little rough there for a moment.
Oh, was that me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I made a good joke. God damn it.
I'm sure it was great, JJ.
Man, I threw that out there it was a dud.
Like your
All of
brush.
us are just like, okay.
Oh, that hurt. Anyway, CD Lamb,
Yeah.
catching passes as long as Jerry drops the shades.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Nice.
F you all. Go ahead. Talk about CD Lamb. I'm going to have a drink. Joe, what do you think about CD?
I mean, he was the wide receiver 1 last year. Dak is a very good quarterback. When healthy this year's probably he's just the Malik Neighbors now. Just hopefully get a lot of targets from a bad quarterback. But I think he's definitely in the second tier
All right, Joel.
fantasy receivers. But
Yeah, I think like Joe said, he's shown the ability to be as good or better than Chase or Jefferson in a given season. He just hasn't had the consistency. So, yeah, I think he's a clear, tier down from the two of them, just because those two are just so ultra consistent, and he's been situation dependent at times during his career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rich, same idea.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Joe said earlier about like the quarterback situation. A lot of the times, where I had CD earlier this year, I had him higher just because I felt his quarterback situation with Dak was good. But as you can see, without Dak, and he's not exactly foolproof, you got to be ready to pivot a little bit. So.
Yeah, unlike Jefferson, right? Jefferson kind of appears to be QB proof.
Right.
CD Lamb is not appearing the same way with Cooper Rush. Any chance Trey Lance comes in and maybe peppers in with targets? No. I'm not
hope
too
so.
hopeful about that either.
if Dallas was smart, they'd do that. But
Right.
He'll get peppered. He'll just, half of those will be interceptions. So,
Well, as long as the number's large enough, it's okay
Yeah.
if some are interceptions.
before we get to the next name, JJ, we
Yeah.
got a couple of comments.
Oh, okay.
First from Christian Kim saying, traded a second and a third for Tyrone Tracy. Wondering if that's an overpay. Thoughts from the panel?
In Dynasty? I don't think so.
nope.
I like it.
Yeah, I would definitely pay a second and third for Tracy.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one asking Devonta Smith or Mike Evans. I think this is a really interesting dynasty question.
Yeah.
In Dynasty? I'm taking
assuming it's a
Devonta
dynasty
Smith.
question.
Right, yeah. I feel like Devonta Smith has to be the one that you take there. I love Evans, and I got out on him 2 years ago, and then I realized that I pulled the trigger too soon. So I'm a little hesitant now, a little gun shy on trading him away. But yeah, Devonta Smith for me.
In a vacuum, I agree. I think if you're full contender trying to win that chip, I think it's reasonable. I'd still want something with Evans, but I do think week to week consistency, Evans is going to be better once he's back on the field. Just the Jalen Hurts of it all.
And just for shits and gigs, Joel, if this is redraft, are you trading Devonta Smith for Evans?
No, I would. I think I'd rather have Devonta Smith. I think we're seeing the kind of age catch up to Mike Evans, in that he's 31. He's got a pretty serious hamstring injury. We don't know how long it's going to linger. Is it going to recur? I mean, we know Devonta's reasonably healthy. And if you look at Mike Evans' game log, I mean, he's had 3 games over 20, and then he's had 3 games that haven't added up to 20, not including the game where he got hurt. So that consistency that he kind of has always given us is not really there anymore. He's really become kind of a boomer bust player. Although that should change with Chris Godwin out, but still, I mean, he's not really the same guy he's been.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does down the stretch, and if he can regain that consistency. I don't think Aden's going to take away his targets, and I don't know if anybody else has shown up.
No.
No.
All right. Any other comments?
Gary's here.
Nice.
Oh,
Well,
hey, Gary. Always good to see Gary showing up. All right, gentlemen. Well, he loves the dirty O, so let's keep moving. Our number 4 was the wide receiver 2 in rookie drafts this year, Malik Neighbors. Now, Joe, you had him as high as 3. Richard and Joel both had him at 6.
I had him at 6.
Oh, I might have messed that up then.
I think you
I
flipped
had
Joel
him.
and I.
I had him at
It's
3.
okay.
Yep.
So that's a little bit reversed. I apologize. That was a.
Just an L away.
So why did you have him so high, Joel?
Because I think he's shown that he's elite. I mean, just walked into 14, 15 targets a game, and he started dragging those down into like his second and third games of the season. So I think you're looking at some as like a more talented Puka Nacua from last year. I mean, you remember last year Puka had like 17 targets in week 1. That's not an accident. You don't get those elite target numbers by accident. You have to be an elite player. So I think he's just ready to step into. There's obviously a lot of concern with the quarterback situation. We don't know what the coaching staff's going to look like. So there's some situational issues there, but I think he's just such an elite player that he's going to be like Chase and Jefferson and be able to overcome that.
All right. Joe, why did you have him at 6?
I don't think he's shown that he's like an elite receiver yet or near that, frankly. I think he has a lot of flaws in his game still. Quarterback is still definitely the biggest issue. I think he's really struggled a lot on deeper routes, and maybe some of that is Daniel Jones existing, but I don't know. A lot of the issues I had with him as a prospect, which he was still a great prospect, have shown up a lot with lack of physicality, and then injuries have kind of the multiple concussions already has been scary, but I mean, he's still my wide receiver 6, but yeah.
So do we have him in the same tier as CeeDee Lamb, or is there another tier break here? Rich?
I had another tier break here. I like Malik Neighbors a lot, and this was one of the ones that I went back and forth on quite a bit. I think Joe hit it though with the quarterback situation. That's one of the things that, just because he's a rookie and he hasn't really shown that he is quarterback proof yet. Like, he's shown quite a bit with Daniels, don't get me wrong, or with Daniel Jones, don't get me wrong. But I'm still a little concerned about what he'll look like once they move on to somebody else, because it just kind of seems inevitable. Like, if they threw in Locke, is he actually going to continue to put up the monster games that he's shown that he's put up? So that's why I knocked him down just a little bit, but otherwise he's got the ability. So.
All right. Well, let's go on to our number 5, which is Nico Collins, who's due back at any time. Joe, you had him at 3.
Indeed.
So tell me why you love Nico.
'Cause I think he's the third best receiver in the league behind Chase and Jefferson. I think he's with top 6-ish quarterback. He showed the first part of the year and all of last year that he is just a perfect match for CJ Stroud. He can win every single route, every which way. He has great after the catch ability. I think he's really just the perfect X receiver with a lot more ability to him. The injury was a bummer, but I don't think it's one that's going to continue on forever. And yeah, just being paired with CJ Stroud for the foreseeable future, I think, and still only 25, I think in the prime of his career, I think he's that good where he's not in the Chase Jefferson tier, but he is in the CeeDee Lamb tier, just those two to me.
Now, Richard, you have him at 7. Why do you hate him so much?
Well, I met him once. And he was so mean. No. No, I really like Nico Collins. I did not have him as high to begin the year, and I didn't have as much belief in him. I think the guys that I have above him, I just have more trust. I've seen more out of them. I really love what Nico Collins brings, though, and I'm coming around. It's slowly but surely. I put him at wide receiver 7, but yeah, no, I definitely am not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm on board with you. Like, I know there was a lot of offseason talk as to who was going to be the number 1 in Houston.
Right.
Like, is it Tank Dell coming back off his injury? Is it going to be Stephon Diggs, who they signed? And Nico was like, I don't think so. Like, he dominated those early games. So he, like, to me, he really showed me like a different level, like a different gear that he had that I didn't know if it was going to be sustainable from year to year. So, I mean, I have him at 5, but he is pretty awesome.
Yep.
You can have him on your roster. You're a lucky, lucky man.
He's still wide receiver 21 on the year.
And how long has it been since he played?
5
Feels like forever.
It does feel like forever.
He's missed 4. He's missed the majority of 4 games, or 4 games and then a 5th.
This season sucks. Can I just say that? This is one of my least favorite fantasy seasons. I've been playing a long time, and I am not enjoying this year as much.
No, I'm right there with you. Yeah, this season has been rough all around. All my dynasty leagues, all my redraft leagues, all my charity leagues, everything.
The only leagues I'm doing well in are like those mock drafts we all did that somebody was like, well, let's just make it a best ball league and see what happens.
Right.
All of those, I'm killing it. Anything I paid money for or donated for,
Yep.
fantasy.
So 90 wide receivers have more pass snaps than Nico Collins this year, including a DJ Turner.
And he's still wide receiver 21 out of those 90?
Right.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Next up, our number 6 is ARSB. Now, man, Rich, you have him up at number 4. I know he's fallen a little bit in my estimation, but I'd love to hear why you have him as high as 4. Sure.
So when it comes to Amon-Ra St. Brown, that was somebody that I was not when he came out as a rookie and he kind of showed up and everybody started getting on board with him. I was a little hesitant, but I think that following year, getting to watch him play against the Vikings twice, like I really saw what he brings to the table. Just watching him play is amazing, and I it's kind of hard to explain. I've come to realize that I get out on guys a little bit too soon, even though they're maybe having a down year. And so this year, it's a little bit of a down year. It's a down year for everybody. And so I'm not willing to sacrifice what I had once thought in Amon-Ra St. Brown just because he's having a down year. I think he's going to bounce back next year.
A man of belief.
Yep.
I like hearing that. Joel, what do you think about ARSB?
Yeah, the guy, he just keeps getting it done. He's obviously on a great situation. That's an elite offense. It's going to continue to be an elite offense. I mean, it should be like they're probably going to lose Ben Johnson, but it should still be a really good offense. And the passing game just runs through him. So yeah, he's going to be a target monster. So yeah, there's just really nothing not to like.
Do you think we ever reach a point in the NFL where good assistants just stay assistants?
No,
I think we will. I think we've seen it. We're seeing it in college now, where instead of going, like, you see the G5 coaches are going on as assistants to. I know Kane Womack is Alabama's defensive coordinator and could have gotten a Big Ten job last year. I think college trends end up being pro trends a lot, and I think we'll see it. Maybe not to the same degree, but
Yeah, I just wonder, Ben Johnson turned down some offers this past year. And I just wonder if being able to run a great offense underneath a head coach you like might just be a better life choice than, going to one of the crappy franchises like the Jets. You're going to coach them for 3 years. They're going to suck all 3 years. And then you're going to be washed out and back as a coordinator.
right.
Like, listen, don't go to the Jets.
have
I
to
guess-
move your family twice. Deal with
Yeah.
the stress of a crappy owner.
But it is all about ego, right? Eventually, you want your name.
Ego and that extra money's got to be nice.
Yeah.
Can't turn it down.
I do think you're going to start seeing some competition for coordinator jobs. Like the Packers hired Jeff Hafley from Boston College just because he wanted to get out of being a college head coach because the game has changed so much basically while under his watch. So if that becomes kind of a trend where these coaches would rather be NFL assistants than college head coaches, then you're going to start seeing some more competition for these jobs. And then maybe they do. Once you have that established, maybe you do want to stay in that position instead of kind of taking a chance on like you said, being a head coach of a bad franchise where you've got maybe 2 years, maybe less if you don't turn it around.
Chip Kelly's having the time of his life as Ohio State's offensive coordinator. Doesn't have to recruit. He could just coach.
Oh, Chip Kelly. There's a lot of feelings about Chip Kelly in my neck of the woods.
Why is that?
I don't know. The Eagles fans carry a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. No,
Right.
I'm sorry.
This is the second time we talked about that I've talked about Chip Kelly this week, and I'm just kind of figuring out why.
Was it oh my Lord! I'm sorry. We're moving on then. All right. Next up on our list is a tie. Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown tied for 7th place. So I'm a little interested in who we think should win this. So let's start, Joe. You had Garrett Wilson over A.J. Brown. Why?
Yeah. I'm kind of regretting it, to be totally honest.
That's fair.
I think it's more of an age thing. Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown's 27. Garrett Wilson is 23, 4.
You do sound conflicted right now.
I am.
Well, Rich, can you help him
I'm going
out?
to flip on the fly. I'm not going to lie here.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No
Sorry.
flip-flop. No flip-flop.
You're all alone, JJ.
Oh, wait.
It comes down to
yeah,
Jalen Hurts is a flawed quarterback, but he's fine. He's an average quarterback. He has a great deep ball. Aaron Rodgers is 42 or whatever. That's really what it comes down to in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we're talking about flip-flopping, and we shouldn't flip-flop because that's a terrible thing, Joe.
Sorry.
I was going to flip-flop on this one as well.
Oh.
Just because, we talk about quarterbacks and how important quarterbacks are to wide receiver longevity, performance. CeeDee Lamb is showing that he doesn't necessarily can do what Justin Jefferson has done and endure crappy quarterbacks. Now, Garrett Wilson did do well last year with whatever we called that in New York. But we're going to be in for a lot of years of it, I think, coming up. And my concern as a Jets fan, this is a Jets podcast,
Go Penn State.
that by the time he's almost done with his contract, like we won't have a quarterback. He's not gonna be on the road. And I don't know if he's gonna want to sign back with the Jets, who are dysfunctional franchise with no veteran leadership, and they're rudderless.
Yeah.
And the young guns are acting out, and they don't know how to be professionals. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I don't know who the presence there, I don't know who their leader is. So
I think it is Garrett Wilson. Like,
Right.
I will say I struggled with him a lot again as a prospect throughout. I've been a hater of his, but he's been awesome through it all. Like most receivers, especially receivers, would not be able to handle the Jetsness as well as he has, and he's still turned into like a legit top 10 wide receiver. So,
Yeah.
man
So,
deserves a quarterback.
Joel, what are your thoughts on AJ Brown?
I was going to say, do I have to be the Garrett Wilson apologist here? In that, the way I look at it is, a couple of weeks ago when they traded for Devontae Adams, like there was a dynasty panic about, Garrett Wilson's going to turn into a zero, and like he is still the alpha with Devontae Adams there. He's still getting double-digit targets. They're not great targets because Aaron Rodgers is old and sucks now, but he's still the alpha there. So yeah, I think he deserves that ranking. My concern with AJ Brown is kind of the same as it is with Mike Evans, just to a lesser degree, in that he's getting up there in age relatively, for an NFL player. He's got a body type that I don't know how well it's going to handle soft tissue injuries. And we're seeing it with DK Metcalf. You saw it with Mike Evans, who are very similar stylistically and body type players. So I'm just a little bit concerned that as he ages, he's going to, not be available as much.
Yeah. And I think about
Yeah.
with that body type, like you're saying, Joel, like how Dez and T.O. plummeted once they couldn't physically dominate.
Yep.
Right? Like that is their game, is being physically dominating to corners. And I don't know, it's sort of like being a speed merchant. Like, and once that speed leaves, what do you have left?
Right.
So I don't know. I have some of those same concerns, which is why I have Garrett Wilson 2 spots ahead, which isn't massive. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would still take Garrett Wilson. I'm a hopeless Jets fan.
I will say I do think for my rankings, AJ Brown, ARSB, and Wilson are it's a nice little tier of those three for me for my rankings.
All right. I don't know how I feel about this. Talking about
Garrett
the
Wilson
Jets
deserves better.
makes me feel sad inside.
Right.
Makes me like, oh, never mind. I was going to make a political analogy, but I won't.
We do have another comment first, JJ.
Oh, go ahead.
From Dylan, who wants help setting his lineup, which debating between Daniels and Herbert, Dobbins, Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, Ferguson, Hunter Henry, and then McLaurin, D-Hop, Tank Dell, and some leftover running backs. For 1 quarterback, 2 running back, a tight end, and a flex. No wide receivers.
All right, so let's start with QB. Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, who do you take, Daniels or Herbert this weekend?
Herbert for me.
I love Herbert this week.
Yeah.
So that's a sweep. I'm starting Herbert this week. So
go Daniels.
I take that as a personal shot. But so we agree on Justin Herbert. Looking at 2 running backs, Dobbins, mm-hmm. Walker, and Jacobs. Joe, who are you taking?
I'm Josh Jacobs for sure. And then is Ken Walker going to be fully active and healthy?
I hope so. He's in my lineup.
That's right. Yeah.
Fair. I'm probably going Walker.
Rich?
Same. Jacobs and Walker. Easily, yeah.
Joel?
Yeah, I agree. Since I'm starting Herbert, I expect them to be throwing a lot against Cincinnati, so I'm a little kind of down on Dobbins corresponding with starting Herbert. So yeah, I agree. Definitely Jacobs is the clear one, and I think Seattle's going to try and lean on Walker against the Niners.
Yeah, I agree. Dobbins has been fading since those first few breakout games that he had against some busted run gaps. All right, so that leaves tight end and a flex. Ferguson is questionable, just got downgraded to questionable by Sleeper. That came through. Or Hunter Henry. I'm going Ferguson, unless he doesn't play, and then obviously Hunter Henry. Joel?
I think I'm going to go Hunter Henry. I just don't trust Cooper Rush. To
Oh, goddamn, Cooper Rush is starting.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. I hate this season.
Oh. I was really, like you said, Ferguson's so confident. I was like, all right.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, I'm going Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah, definitely. Hunter Henry.
Joe?
Yeah. Drake May's a lot better than Cooper Rush.
All right, so that just leaves McLaurin, Hopkins, Dell, or leftover running backs. That's an easy McLaurin for me.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't start him. He's been killing it.
I'm not starting him here. Eagles have been great defensively. I think they're really going to give the Commanders hell tonight. I'm probably going Dobbins here. The Chiefs are playing Buffalo, right?
Yep.
Oh, the leftover. Oh, I get that now.
Yeah, I'm going Dobbins here.
Yeah, I'm definitely going McLaurin. Rich?
Yeah, I'm going McLaurin. There's a part of me that wants to say Hopkins. I love Hopkins with Kansas City, but I'm probably going McLaurin. He's just been so good this year.
Any other questions, sir?
That's it for right now. Thank you guys for the questions.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Well, it's football season, and that means a trip to see your favorite team on the road, right? Well, with Expedia, you get the best prices when traveling, and we are thrilled to announce our partnership with them. Need a flight to Denver, rent a car in Miami, or a hotel in San Francisco? Go to idpplus.com/Expedia and build the best package to travel to the big game. All right, gentlemen.
We have some breaking news. That's super hot. No more committee in Dallas. Rico Dowdle's taking the lead role, per Mike McCarthy.
Oh.
Hold on one second. I'm going to see if I have any type of sound effect to...
I really don't care.
What the hell was that music?
Background music?
Wow, Evie Mutz.
I was curious, so I clicked the button, and I think it worked.
Ah!
I genuinely don't care.
Look at you. Button curious. It happens. It happens. Usually when you're young and in college, but...
Right.
Those who know laughed. All right, let's go on to our number 9th ranking. Puka Nacua. All right, Joel, you were the highest on him at number 7. What are you seeing in Puka that I'm not?
Targets. I mean, he came back off the injury, got double-digit targets, got 4 targets in a game that he got injected in the first quarter in, and then last week got another 14 targets. I mean, that's all he does in this offense with Matthew Stafford, just get double-digit targets. So, like you said, the season's been really rough. So, I mean, all you can kind of really do is fall back on targets and opportunities, and like he's just the king when he's out there.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. Rich?
Yeah, I loved him when he came back. I was really surprised with how much they used him and everything, and it just, for the rest of the season especially, he's going to get used a lot. My only concern, he probably would have been higher. My only concern with him, like I like to look at championship windows and like three-year windows. I'm a little worried about how long Stafford's actually going to be there throwing him the ball. So, little concerned about that, but otherwise, yeah, Puka Nacua to the moon.
So, Joe, how much longer do you think Stafford has?
I think he realistically could play another 2 years. I don't know if he's going to want to, though. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he called it after this year. Again, he had a massive neck back injury that almost made him retire before last year. So,
And what do we think about McVay, Rich? Do we think I know McVay has flirted with leaving?
Right. That is also another concern. Because especially, yeah, you lose McVay, you're losing everything at that point, right? Like what, what are you falling back on? So other than just the pure skill that Puka Nacua brings, I I don't know. I think that McVay stays. Like I think that he was kind of flirting with the idea of leaving, but I think he stays. He's so good at it. I'm just pulling up Stafford's contract. He's got 3 more years on it. So yeah, I could see him leaving in 2. But sorry, distracted.
No, hey, good information. Yeah, I was surprised that it was great to see when he came back off his injury that he got immediately peppered with targets.
Yeah.
Like, that tells you everything you need to know about a player. Like, they waited until he was healthy and then just gave him his role completely back.
the main concern with him is how often is he going to be healthy? He's played 100 snaps this year. The main issue with him in college was his limited athleticism because he was injured every year, had massive injuries. When he's on the field, he's great, but how often is that going to be?
I mean, if it makes a difference, that is why I moved him down to 11. That's not a huge difference, though. So, but the only reason I did lower him was because of injuries. A little bit concerned. Any concern for you, Joel or Rich?
No, well, yeah, there is that concern. I mean, that's why he fell to the 5th round. Is that I think NFL GMs didn't know if he could stay healthy, and obviously it's been an issue. But like, I'm not super concerned with Stafford because he just kind of held out, quasi held out this offseason, like going into training camp to get that kind of extension and extra money. So I don't think he's gonna we've heard the stories that his wife wants him to retire, but I don't think he would have done that if he was only seriously thinking about playing 1 year. So I think he's got at least another year or 2 in him.
Well, we know what those
I am more
quarterbacks
concerned
think
about the
about
next
spending
quarterback.
time with their wives. I mean, some of them would rather let them leave for a jiu-jitsu instructor. I'm sorry, Joe. You were saying before my poorly timed Tom Brady joke.
I'm more concerned about the current quarterback situation for the next receiver on the list than Puka.
Oh, wait, who's next on the list? Let's see.
Assuming I read this right.
Drake London.
Oh.
Drake London, go ahead. Talk to us, Joe.
Kirk Cousins still can't move. And then Michael Penix is next up, which Michael Penix could be great, but also he's another, I won't say young, another inexperienced NFL quarterback. So it doesn't matter how much you like him or not. He's, 60% chance of the bust, just based off the numbers. Could be great, but I don't think Kirk Cousins has really survive another more than next year. He's already immobile. That's still sapped. I also don't think Michael Penix is a great fit with Drake London. Drake London does his best of his spot, and Michael Penix does not throw for the field, and what he does, it's not very well.
Okay. So, Rich, where are you on Drake London?
So I really like Drake London with Cousins. I think that Cousins is I mean, one, I think Cousins will be around for a little while. I think he'll at least play out his contract and everything. So again, that 3-year window, I think for the next 3 years, you got Drake London sitting pretty. But as far as Drake London himself goes, I really liked him as a prospect coming out. I was really discouraged with how he played with the oh dang it, Ritter. There we go, Ritter. I was really discouraged.
Raiders QB1.
Yeah. But I really love Right, I don't love. I am concerned long run. I am concerned for Drake London, and that's why I have him as low as I do. Um, when it comes to Penix, like you were just saying, Joe, like I am nervous about that. So long run, I am worried about him. Had to knock him down a little bit because of that. But I think for the next 3 years, he's gonna put up numbers.
And to interrupt before Joel goes, I do think part of the issue there is since Penix was the 8th overall pick, if Kirk Cousins starts to slip at all, there he's going to have a really short leash. Atlanta's going to call for Penix. They did in week 1. So I think if there's any struggles, there's going to be a quick hook there. If you could guarantee it's Cousins for 2-3 years, I think I'd move him up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Joel, where are you with London and Cousins?
Yeah, see, I think now this is obviously I'm not a Falcons insider or anything, but I think they wanted to put him on the Jordan Love career path and just let him sit for a couple years. So yeah, I'm not really super. Obviously, Cousins is he's 35. He's coming off the Achilles injury, so injuries are a concern with him. But I don't think they want Penix to play within the next year and a half, basically. So. Yeah, I think Cousins is going to be there for at least the next year, and then we'll see what Penix can do with a couple of years of development. I kind of like Penix, so probably a little bit more than Joe does. So, yeah, I'm not super concerned about the quarterback situation there, and I'm comfortable just evaluating Drake London on his abilities.
I would have been fine with Penix in the 8th pick of the 2nd round. First round was rich.
Right.
All right, let's look at number 11 on our list. The other rookie wide receiver 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, this was our biggest discrepancy, probably because I'm an idiot. But, Joe, you had him up at 5, Joel at 8, Rich at 11, and me at 15. So, Joel, tell me why I'm an idiot.
I don't think you're an idiot. Nothing mad respect for you, but I think I've seen enough from him. Like he hasn't been the generational prospect that we all wanted him to be. He hasn't been the next Julio Jones right away, but I think we've seen enough. We've seen the ability. We just haven't seen consistency, and he's a rookie, so that's to be expected. So yeah, I just think it's wheels up from here. I think he at some point in the near future he will be, possibly still at the end of this year, that he will kind of turn into what we wanted him to be as the kind of most valuable non-quarterback in this year's draft.
All right, Rich.
Yeah, no, I think Joel hit it perfectly. I was a little concerned with how his play has been, but he is a rookie, so I shouldn't be too concerned. I was thinking about it as I was going through the list just now, looking at it, and I kind of wish that I had swapped him with somebody, but moved him up a few spots. But I stand by it. I stand by it.
Who?
I was going to say I'd swap him with London. I think I'd knock London back down again, actually, a little bit, just because I long run I am concerned about London, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a much better prospect than what London is. He's a much better player. So
yeah, I would agree there. Joe?
Yeah, I think Marvin's been a lot better the last couple of weeks. Drew Petzing is probably the best next up offensive coordinator after the Ben Johnson. And assuming he stays for a bit, since there have been some rough patches in Arizona's offense. And Kyler's been awesome. I think he's a legit top 12-ish quarterback at worst. Again, health. Trey McBride's there, which will take a lot of pressure off. And Marvin, as long as they've started giving him some easier routes than the first 6 weeks, he was running the hardest routes every single play. I think as long as they give him some more, he'll really be able to improve more for fantasy. The 5 after the struggles is probably a little generous and sitting on my priors, but he's a rookie. I'll live with it.
All right, so if I had to reconsider, I would move him up a couple spots. I just don't have too much love right now, but I think I'm a little jaded from this whole season. All right.
That's fair.
Final slot, number 12. Brian Thomas.
Oh boy.
Another rookie. This is crazy talk. Now, I had him at the highest at 8. I kind of really like Brian Thomas. I wasn't really into him during the draft process, although some people were telling me I should be. But the more I see him play, like I see a lot more to his game than I did in college. And whenever you can start, even when you can improve during your rookie year as a player, that says something to me. Now, I am a little bit nervous about being in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones and if they're going to be able to support him, but I think they will. So I don't know. I'm really high on Brian Thomas this year. Now, Joe, you were the lowest of us at 14. Why?
Um, I still really love him as a prospect. Honestly, I put Brandon Ayuk at 12, and that was more just my guy sort of deal.
Okay.
I really think Brian Thomas, you could make an argument for him in the same range as A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, etc. I think you really could make that case. Just really what knocked him down is this year, I don't think he's going to be much of a fantasy asset, the rest of the season with T-Law down. Next year, they'll have a new offensive scheme, which is tough. Going to be tough on Trevor. Words are hard there, goodness, and tough on Thomas. But I think he's really going to be one of those guys who 2026 and beyond could turn into that top 5 receiver, like a Nico Collins arc. He's shown so much more than he did in college. It's insane. I think he's probably been the most impressive rookie on the offensive side, at least for the receivers, just based off what we thought he could be versus what he is. So, good for him, man.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, don't screw it up again.
They will. They will because they are a cursed franchise, much like the Jets. Joel, where are you on Brian Thomas?
Well, I've been, like, not to toot my own horn, but I've been driving the Brian Thomas Jr. train since draft season. I was huge on him as a prospect, and like he's been better than even I thought he was going to be. So, I to me, the debate was, do I rank him ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. just because he's shown more so far? I think that's a legitimate discussion. The problem is, like Joe said, is the rest of the year. If it is Mac Jones, and if Trevor's out, I think that's going to ding his value pretty significantly. So that's a concern. But yeah, I think the talent is there, and I think he's easily a top 12. He's a wide receiver 1 for Dynasty.
All right, Rich.
Yeah, I think you all hit it perfectly. I'll say that I really thought that he was a great prospect coming out, and I had a hard time where I was going to put him because I liked him so much, and I kept trying to put him up higher, and I was like, no, that's not right. Bring him back down a little bit. No, I really like Brian Thomas a lot. I'm really interested to see what happens with their coaching after this year. I think that's kind of like Joe was saying, it's going to be a tough learning process for them. But I think if Lawrence and Thomas can get the right head coach and right offensive coordinator, I think they're going to make beautiful music. I really do.
Yeah, I hope so, man. There is nothing sadder than a terrible offensive coordinator.
Right.
And just to see what they do, not only to a player, but to an entire team, and how demoralizing it is. Now, of course, I'm saying this with Hackett and whoever came after Hackett on my team. But
right.
I mean, there is such a major difference between the haves and the have-nots when it comes to offensive staff, or just having an offensive staff. All right, so who did we miss? Any players that we didn't talk about who should be mentioned tonight as one of the elite receivers in the NFL? Joel?
My highest guy to not be ranked is, or not be on here, is Rashee Rice. Just because, when he was healthy, when he was out there, he was a top 5 receiver with Patrick Mahomes, and really has been since the second, midpoint of last year. So the injury sucks. The suspension is probably coming, but at this point, I don't think it's going to be super long. Probably just a couple games at most. So, I have zero concerns. It doesn't seem like a super long term. Doesn't seem like a debilitating injury that's going to cost him more than a year or something like that. So, I think once he gets out there, he's going to be just fine, and he's going to go back to being The injury is really the only uncertainty that's keeping me from having him as a top 12 receiver right now.
Man, does anybody else ever, like, when you hear a receiver's name, go, "Oh, I forgot about them. I forgot about Rashee Rice."
Right.
Man, Rich, who else have I forgot about?
Right. So Rashee Rice was going to be my answer, so I'm going to have to pivot here real quick. Jaden Reed was somebody that I was thinking about putting up there just because I really love what he's done with the Packers. I still stand very firmly in the camp of I don't think the Packers have a number one wide receiver, and that's what they're missing. I was really hoping that they were going to trade for T. Higgins or something like that this last offseason. Like, that would have been just absolutely amazing. But what Jaden Reed has done with that little bit of in the little bit of time that he's been there and everything, between him and Jordan Love, the chemistry that they have there, he's looked fantastic. So I really got to give it up to him. Like, he might not be the wide receiver one that I want, but he's the wide receiver one that we deserve, or however you want to say it.
I love it. And I don't know if that was a good segue to me, but my number 12 was Skinny Batman, who is the superhero we all need. I love Devonta Smith. I really love what he does on that. I love his pairing with not only Jalen Hurts, but A.J. Brown as a 1-2. I'm hoping in this talk about getting great offensive coordinators on more teams, I'm hoping the Eagles get rid of their head coach and bring in a solid offensive coordinator who can really utilize. I mean, that team has so many unique weapons. And I would love to see what somebody like Brian Johnson and just somebody like that would do with the Eagles offense. Because I think it would be innovative and exciting to watch rather than what they do most weeks.
Right.
I think they should bring back Shane Steichen.
Yeah. Yeah,
what
keep
about
the
Shane
band
Steichen
together.
now?
I hate when the band breaks up after a championship.
Right.
It's hurtful. It's sad. I want everybody to stay friends forever. Joe, who did we not talk about?
Sorry if we had to repeat anyone, but Rome Odunze, Brandon Ayuk, who I briefly mentioned, Devonta Smith, then Chris Olave and Jalen Waddle with injuries and just surrounding crap. It's tough, though. I think they're definitely talented enough to be top 12 guys. Zay Flowers is interesting there. Then the Seattle receivers, JSN and DK, plus some of the older receivers like Mike Evans, who we mentioned, Tyreek. But
Yeah, it's like once you get past the top 12, there's always that one thing.
yeah,
I mean, and if we're being honest, once you get outside the top 5, there's one thing about every player. And you just have to weigh what that one thing is in comparison to everybody else. You know, one of the reasons why if you play fantasy football, you should sit down and do your own rankings. Try it out. Right? There is nothing more thrilling and frustrating than getting to, say, your 15th receiver and all of a sudden seeing another guy and you're like, oh no, I should have had him higher. And you'll find yourself, and maybe I'm alone in this, gentlemen, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, where I just, I hit this one realm somewhere between 15 and 30 where I could say any name and convince myself they're number 15.
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, while Joe was saying all those names, I was like, yep. How did we not mention them? One that came to mind actually was DJ Moore. I was really surprised that nobody said anything about DJ Moore.
I didn't even think about him in this.
Number one wide receiver last year, right? Or number three. Yeah.
Or Pickens.
Right. Yeah, that was another one.
I mean, he's a head case. I just had this conversation with a student today. Pittsburgh only drafts head case wide receivers. But he can play. He's a good player.
Yep.
How about Mike Williams catching a deep bomb for a touchdown? The second he's out of my hellhole. Like, sorry, that was random. I apologize.
And then even someone like a Michael Pittman, like
Right.
Keep Trade Cut has him at 42 right now. Where is he on Fantasy Pros? I'm not seeing him. 23, but I mean, he was a top 10 receiver 2-3 years in a row. Like,
Well, we didn't talk
he has
about
a broken
Tyreek
back.
Hill. That
Like-
Tyreek Hill's old, but I think if we had this conversation 5 months ago, Tyreek Hill would have been in our top 12,
Right.
Top 5.
Yeah.
top 5, top
Yeah.
3.
Yep.
I mean, there's a Terry McLaurin. I know he never really hits the heights he should, but he tickles them. Tickles those heights. All right, gentlemen. Anybody else we want to talk about before we sign off?
I have a quick question for the class.
Okay.
Just a name outside of the top, someone we didn't mention who you think in 2 years could be one of these top 12 guys. Deep cut, someone you think could potentially make the jump.
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
So somebody outside of the top, what did you say?
Initially looking at it like top 30-ish fantasy pro. I guess really just someone we haven't mentioned really. Like we've hit probably 30 names.
What about
I'll say Josh Downs because I think he's really good if Anthony Richardson can get his stuff together and kind of turn into an actual quarterback. They've shown a bit of a connection, so yeah, I think he could be the wide receiver 1 there, and I think he could turn himself into pretty easily a top 20 receiver.
Do you have one, Rich?
I'm trying to think. The only one that I can think of, and I think we already mentioned him, but he wasn't in the top 12, was JSN. Was my Jackson Smith and Jigba would be somebody that I could see jumping up in the top 12 once he finally gets to a point where he's a wide receiver 1 and not having so much competition.
Yeah, I think Pickens was the guy I might have been thinking of, although he might be a little bit too high to be falling into this criteria. Downs, I agree with. Tank Dell, I don't believe in because he's too slight. Lad McConkey, like if he sticks there with,
he's gonna be
Yeah,
the
I
wide
love.
receiver forever. Lad's sick though.
Yeah,
like,
I love.
could we see a scenario where he becomes, I don't know, the Edelman for Herbert?
Yeah.
Like the slot receiver who's just going to get all the targets. Like
My concern that I do like I'm taking the L on Lad McConkey in that I was not a fan of him as a prospect, and I'm dead ass wrong on that. So, but I guess my concern is the coaching staff there, and that I don't know that they're ever going to throw enough to like. I think he probably needs an alpha to be. I don't think he should be the alpha. So if he has to be like a wide receiver 2, is he ever going to get enough volume to be an elite fantasy producer?
Listen, they're going to pepper him with like 4 targets a game.
If the alpha ends up being a tight end like a Colston Loveland or someone else in the next couple classes, then I think Ladd, who I think is best on the outside, could potentially get there. But I'm going to go really deep and just a prospect I was irrationally high on when he was a prospect. But Cedric Tillman, he's been freaking awesome as the wide receiver 1 there since Cooper left. Will he ever be a top 12 guy? Probably not, but he's been really good. Legit X, runs the big boy routes. Just shown a little more than just being able to run deep in routes, vertical routes. So I think he's someone who could end up being a wide receiver 2 this time next year.
What about Ricky Pearsall if
if
anybody leaves? No?
There's still just going to be so many.
I know. Too many mouths to feed.
It's a good one, though. And then League Ed as well. Shout out for Jameson.
Wait, he's still alive, right? He's just. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give him a shout out, buddy. Hope you're doing well, JMO. All right, gentlemen. I think when I mistakenly pour one out for a live friend, that means it's time to end the show. So, time for tags where we let everybody know where they can find us and any final thoughts we might have. Rich, you are up first.
Sure. So you can find me at Rich Sickles GBM on Twitter X. You can find me now on Blue Sky. That's where I'm at a lot, at Richard Sickles. And then you can find me everywhere. We have Fantasy in Frames, so X, Facebook, YouTube. I'm there on Tuesday nights doing the Waiver Wire show at 8 p.m. Central, and Wednesday nights doing the Dynasty 365 show at 8 p.m. Central or Eastern as well.
Are you sure of that time?
Yeah, they're both 8 Eastern. They're both 8 Eastern. Yes, yes. I'm not going to sleep through another show.
Joel, what do you have coming?
Yeah, at the Joel Worth, like you guys all, I am on the Blue Sky and heavily involved since the exodus of last week. Still on Twitter though, so you can hit me up there too. And if you're missing Jameson this week, you can find him with myself on Sunday morning doing the live DFS show that you mentioned earlier at 10 a.m. Eastern.
All right. Joe is at Joe Low 63. You can find him there. He also writes the IDP Plus Start Sit article every week. And then you can always find him here with us. I'm at JJ Wenner on Blue Sky, F Twitter. Actually, no, I love Twitter, FX.
Right.
Thank you to everybody who joined us on the stream tonight. I apologize for any technical difficulties I had caused. Thank you to Joel and Richard for joining us in the festivities. Thank you to Joe and Jameson for all of their work. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday to the All Out Blitz, Doug Orth and myself, as we dive into the film and analytics for Week 11. And come back on Thursday for another live Rod Pod. So from all of us to
Before you go, JJ, we got another question in.
One last question.
Big Mos just beating the buzzer. Brian Thomas for Cooper and Pearsall.
I'm keeping Brian Thomas.
It's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
That's a no for me, dog. That's a no for me, brother. That's for you, Jameson. That's for you. So from all of us to all of you, be safe, be well, and as always, boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.